After a rainstorm, a 100-meter-tall giant's body suddenly appeared on the town's beach. The spectacle attracted a large number of residents. Stephen, the famous biologist, also came, although the giant was motionless, but his high nose and large eyes exuded an air of noble elegance, and the giant's body is very strong. It was like a mythological hero incarnate. At first, the people were in awe of the giant. They didn't dare to approach him, until a woman climbed up the giant's body first. Then the residents cheered. Slowly, more and more people began to approach the giant. Women ballet on the giant's nose. Children used the giant's chest as a slide. Everyone was laughing and joking, but Stephen frowned. He turned away, and sat and watched from a distance. But the fun didn't last long. After only 3 days, the giant's attraction had waned by half. There were only a few kids left on the sidelines. There were even a few workers plotting loudly about how to cut up the giant and sell it for money. Stephen couldn't bear to see such cruelty, so he decided to come back later in the evening. Sure enough, the giant's left hand had already been dismembered. In addition to this, his body had changed significantly. His skin had lost its luster. The whole body was covered with black spots. Stephen carefully climbed up the giant's body, and found that his face had become stiff and rotting. His eyes had begun to turn white and cloudy. Garbage was thrown around the eyes. People even used the body as a drawing board. They scribbled on it, until the giant's body rotted and stank. People couldn't get any more freshness or joy out of him. They abandoned him like a derelict ship. After a few days, the giant's body had become a blur. His body parts were nowhere to be found. All that was left was a flock of seagulls eating the rotting flesh. A few months later, people seemed to have forgotten the giant ever existed, but his mutilated body parts began to turn up in town. His leg bones were stranded on a pier. His ribs were hung above a butcher's store. His skull was transformed into a bar decoration, though his massive body was in pieces. But Stephen felt that the giant was still alive. He often dreamed of the giant waking up on the beach, walking down the street with a giant stride, and collecting his body parts one by one, and then return to the sea like a whale. Maybe the giant in the movie is really a god at the end of his life. When human beings are confronted with a creature like themselves or even higher, at first they will worship and be in awe, but gradually they kill the god. They take its remains as trophies for themselves, as if to swear man's sovereignty over the land. Or perhaps this giant was nature, the earth. It's all the things that mankind once admired, and then abandoned and trampled upon.